Right guys, here's another little project that I'm currently, going to work on. It's an acoustic guitar here, a 6-string acoustic guitar. This is one of my own acoustics, and this is basically the very first acoustic guitar that I started out playing on. And I believe half a year ago I gave it a proper setup, adjusted the neck, adjusted the saddle, adjusted the nut slots, and the guitar played so much easier and so much better because the string height was really high, and it was almost impossible to play bar chords from the 5th fret and down. But I really want to give this guitar a nice nut here, a nice bone nut, and this nut right here is basically, your standard kind of plastic cheap nut. I adjusted the nut slots when I gave it a proper setup after I adjusted the, bridge saddle and the truss rod. And it plays fine, but the saddle are cheap, it's plastic, and the grooves are cut, they're cut too deep, not because I get any buzzing, but the string is kind of sitting, way too deep in the nut slots. I could always just shave them down and reprofile the nut, but it wouldn't really do much because this is a cheap plastic saddle. So I would like to, change it and make a new one, make a proper bone nut for this guitar here, and it would just make the guitar play a lot better. So this is kind of the project that I want to, to do for this guitar here, give it a new nut. And we have to establish a couple of things before we can just go in and give a guitar a new nut. We have to loosen out the strings and somewhat get them out of the way. We'll have to take a look at the nut to see if it's glued in or if it's just, set in here and kept in place by the string tension. We'll have to figure out if the nut is glued in. We'll have to get it out without chipping any lacquer or doing any damage on both the veneer here of the headstock, but also on the sides. So we'll take a look at that in a short minute, but first of all I will have to loosen out the strings here, guys, so we can take a look at the nut. So let me do that off camera and bring you guys in when we're going to take a closer look at the nut. Right guys, so the strings are off now, and I've given you this little close-up here to show you that we basically over here, the shiny part here is some glue. So this nut right here is glued in. We'll have to get it out, scoring around the edges on the back, on the sides, on the front here to, gently just break out those, glue bonds and see if anything happens there. And we basically, we do this using a little razor blade here. Just gently scoring around the edges down here at the bottom and up on the top here, and with the fretboard just scoring around, and basically not scoring into the fretboard but scoring along in order to get those glue joints out. So this is what I'll have to do, and I might just flip the guitar around to give you a better angle on this here, but I'll start by scoring the edges. And I will take a little piece of wood and a piece of hammer and give it a, gently giving it a tap in the middle and on the sides to see if it breaks loose. If it takes a little more than that, I would probably get out my hacksaw and cut down the middle here in order to, get it out with the least amount of chip out from the headstock veneer here and from the sides as well. But let me get this set up in another, view for you guys. So I'll be back when I've done that, guys. Right, guys. So here we are. We are ready to, as I said, use this nice and sharp razor blade here. And as I said, we're going to, break the glue joints, hopefully. And I just like to take it on this side first, place it right up against, making sure that I'm not, you're not looking to score the fretboard or anything, you're just looking to get that glue joint scored. And we can take it across and we can hear that it had a little bit of glue in it. So we do that a couple of times in order to, make sure that we don't have any more glue. Then we get to the back side here, and we're just going to, rest it up against, we're not going to score anything, just looking to get in there, kind of, trying to do it like this, right up against, basically just keeping good contact point, then just scoring around. And we're just doing that a couple of times in order to, break every possible glue joint. We're going to do the same thing down here. Down here at the bottom, we're just going to set it in gently and just move it across gently. Just make sure you don't slip up at this area. You could put some masking tape on it to make sure that you don't slip too much. But just score gently around the edges here. And you do the same thing for, the back of the fretboard here. Just scoring nice and gentle. And this is basically what I would do for, both sides as well. Also over here on the other side, I would go in and just score around the edges, hoping to break any, glue joint. And having done that, we're basically ready to, try and give the knot a little tap in order to make sure that we don't get any chip out, or, the least amount of chip out as possible. So let me bring out the hammer and the small piece of wood and see if we get anything to, tap loose. So stay with me. Right guys, so I have a small hammer here. You don't need nothing major to do this. And I have, it's just a chisel with, some protection on the end. And it's just going to allow me to get it up close here and give it a couple of taps here. I guess that we could, generally start by tapping lightly, just using our hand. And it sounds like, yeah, there you go. You could sort of hear that, you could hear how it started just giving that, sort of pink sound, or yeah, loosening sound. And it basically came right off. Now we can go in here and we can take a look at the nut slot itself. Just basically see how that looks. You can see by me scoring the edges here, we haven't had any chip out. Nothing on the sides and nothing on the sides over here. We basically got a very clean tap out from the knot here. And you can just see here that the knot came out nice. It's a plastic knot, and it took a little of the paint out here, but we have to clean out the nut slot anyway, so we basically have no problem doing that. But as you can see here, it's kind of odd because this nut slot has been painted, or at least some paint from the headstock veneer when it was painted. It's just been seeping in here, and just they've just created the nut slot and just glued the knot in from there. But I will have to clean the nut slot up now and basically just get it square and clean in order to to let me measure the depth and basically get my measurements for what the new knot size will need to be. So as you see, this time I didn't need the hammer right here at all. And it's not about force, just trying to yank it out and tap it out. You have to do this with extreme, you know, care and patience, because you can't, especially if you're working on customer guitars, you can't risk chip out here at the ends and also at the headstock veneer, and it's not very nice because, you know, you can always glue them in using super glue, but you still have that hairline crack where you can see something was going on, and if it didn't have anything like that before, the owner is probably not going to be that happy about it. So let me get the tools for, you know, cleaning the nut slot, and we will take it from there, guys.